Delighted to say good morning to Mark Lawrenson. How are you, Mark?
I'm all right, apart from my Wi-Fi failing. But you'd think out your life's over, didn't you? Mad, isn't it?
This weekend, Mark, we look at the half-4 game on Sunday first up. It feels like a significant enough one because last weekend, I should say, it feels like the common mood is that Tottenham are the big winners from the weekend. Just a brilliant performance. They've added so much depth to their squad. They've got one of the best managers in the league. Everything is looking rosy in the garden. But to go to Chelsea this weekend, it sort of feels like there's an immediate pressure on Spurs to do something on Sunday. Yeah,
I mean, you could say they made a mini statement beating Southampton, who actually looked like they're going to lose the manager any day as well. But they came back from the 1-0 deficit. But I think this is just, firstly and foremost, why are these games so early in the season? You want another 10 games before these two play each other. But I mean, the thing with Tottenham is yes, outstanding manager. Yes, they made some very, very good signings. Let's just see if they gel. And a big thing for them would always be that if Kane gets injured, and he does seem to get injured during some stage of the season, will Richarlison take over? Will he be good enough? Will he be good enough to win enough games? I certainly think they will finish third in the league or be vying for third. I don't see them vying for first or second. They're not that good yet.
It does seem that they are better placed this season to maybe withstand an injury to Kane. Like, I'm not saying they have anybody like it, but it does seem they've just bulked up significantly in the attacking positions. Yeah, I mean, Richarlison's obviously a good signing, so he'll make a difference. Yeah, there's no doubt about it, but Tottenham can be, they call it down here, they can be a bit Spursy, and a bit Spursy is when you go away to Burnley and you get beat 1-0 and you don't even look like a team. Now, that's happened probably too often in the last few years. Now, I would imagine with the players that Conte signed, that will not happen. It'll be something that he's identified, and that will make all the difference. But let's just wait and see. They made a good start, as I say, with Southampton at home. They look like they're going to be certainly a very good side, but you just never know, do you? There's also the element of the shiny new thing to a degree about Tottenham. Conte isn't there as long as some of the other managers around him in those top few clubs. And I guess you could say something similar about Arsenal, that it feels kind of like en vogue to say that Tottenham and Arsenal are going to maybe get into the top four. And maybe people are sleeping on Chelsea just a little bit, Mark. It kind of feels like we've forgotten that they've won the Champions League a couple of seasons ago. Some of the new signings looked excellent last weekend. Could they be the ones really out of that chasing pack to really put the pressure on the top two?
Well, the way they're going about signing players, and obviously the window's still open for a bit, and with the new owner coming in, it seems as though it's money, no object. So I wouldn't mind betting by the end of the transfer deadline that they might have another 2 or 3, and they won't be players like, oh yeah, well we bought him just he's going to be good in about 18 months. They will be ready-made. I don't think there's any doubt about that whatsoever. So it's very much with them as well. I think a watch this space, and they've got a good manager, as we know. They're going to be very, very organised. That's part of Tuchel's badge. And if they get the players in, especially the forward players, isn't it? That the rest of the team looking at the way they're going, and if you sign Fofana from Leicester City as well, the rest of the team looks very good, compact. They know the way that they play. Thiago's still a very good player, reads the game fantastically. But it's up front. Goals win your games, as everybody knows. And, look at the fuss over Haaland last week. And quite rightly so, but they don't have anybody like him, and that's going to be maybe the problem. Who they can actually get in that's going to score the goals to get them in the top 3 or even in the top 2.
What's your take on how that will shake out then? I presume you're going City and Liverpool as your top 2.
Yeah.
How do you see the teams, and how do you see the order of the teams behind them?
Oh, I would say, because it's Conte, I just think that they'll finish third. I think it's between them and Chelsea. I look at Arsenal. Yes, they signed some good players, but they don't convince me as yet. Even in their first game against Palace had quite a few opportunities at 1-0 down. It's a good start for them because it's a difficult place to go, as everybody knows now, Crystal Palace. But I'm not convinced by them. Man United, I don't think they can be anywhere near looking at them. There's so much work to do there. West Ham just don't have basically the players that are going to get them in the top 4. Am I missing anybody? No, I don't think I am I? I think that's probably about it.
Maybe the Amazon documentary will change your mind on Arsenal.
What is that? I haven't seen it. Any good?
It's pretty good, to be fair, but I mean, you could be persuaded. You can check it out, and we'll get you on again, Mark, to chat through it. Yeah,
I'll have a look at it. I didn't even know they made one, but I mean, they're all. It's the thing about it. It's the good bits and the bad bits from the documentaries, isn't it?
Yeah, and also I guess the club gets, welcomes a lot of filmmakers into the club, so I'd always be conscious that it's maybe too glowing a representation of a manager or a set of players sometimes.
Yeah. But listen, he signed some good players, Arteta, but I just don't, Arsenal are very much kind of win 3 or 4 games and then they're likely to lose a couple and draw a couple. That's the way that they've been, and it's not just quality of the players. I think it's a mentality. When they came to Liverpool last year, I don't know if you remember, but they were playing really well for about 25 minutes, and then Arteta and Klopp had a row on the touchline, and Arsenal completely lost it. It was like, wow, it was just over a row between 2 managers, and you're thinking, I'm not sure between the ears that they're ready to actually be such a good team.
I think something that happened there as well, it sort of riled up the crowd at Anfield even more. So I think that's one thing you don't do when you're going to Anfield.
No, absolutely.
When you talk through your top 6 there, I get the sense that maybe you're not even convinced Manchester United are definitely going to be in there, or are you? Like, are you? No, are they vulnerable?
I think by hook or by crook they will get there.
Okay.
But just like everybody watching the game last week, for the first 10 or 15 minutes they looked okay. But I mean, Brighton were so very good against them, and they tactically just completely outplayed them. And I just think the thing with Manchester United, there is so much work to do. But I think also the manager has to convince all the players about the way that they want to play. And, that just doesn't happen in weeks. It takes months. And also, if he thinks that the people in there aren't good enough, he's going to have to change the personnel, which he's currently trying to do. I mean, who's going to play up front for them? Who's going to score all their goals? So it's such an easy one. I mean, and to be fair, with Ronaldo, love him or hate him, when he came on, he looked the most lively of anybody. But, of course, he wants to go. And just the whole thing is a massive, massive problem.
It feels like the same problems that we were picking through last April still exist right now, and I guess that speaks to just deeper issues at the club. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, it's I have this theory, rightly or wrongly, but when Fergie finished, David Gill finished with him. Now David Gill was, and I know him, he's just a great operator in terms of players in, players out. He'd been at the job a long time, and when Edward Woodward got in, he would have got all the sponsorship. So I think he convinced the Americans that he was such a good operator, and they thought, well, let's let him get in charge of the football rather than everything else. And he just wasn't up to it, and consequently, they're paying the price because that the buying and selling has just been, it's just been ordinary at the best.
Like, the questions then will remain over, like, what are they going to do in midfield, and it feels that their transfer policy has been unbelievably reactive, that Frankie de Jong and that situation, of course, a lot of that was out of their hands, but they've allowed that to drag on all season, and it feels like the Adrian Rabiot links are now very reactive. And I guess before you get to that point, you're looking at a starting midfield last weekend of Fred and McTominay, and Manchester United fans must be thinking, how are we in this endless cycle of misery?
Absolutely, and it looks to me like there's been a list of players that they want, and now they're probably about down at 6th or 7th on that list for the players. And as you rightly say, they're just reacting to the fact that they can't get your man, so they go and try and get somebody else. There just doesn't seem to be the basis of a plan. And I'm just looking at them. I mean, defensively, it was just really, really strange. I mean, 2 centre-backs looked like they just met, which, in all honesty, probably only have done about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So he's got to start from the back. The goalkeeper is obviously a top goalkeeper, but he's going to have to start from the back forwards because they were so easy to get at. I mean, Brighton could have won, 3, 4, 5. So he's got that problem first before anything else, before he's even got to think about strikers, about midfield players and all. And it's just a massive massive job. And now, as everybody knows, they're going to try and buy players. And if you're a chief executive of a top football club, you know that Manchester United want one of the players, you're going to ask for absolute fortune. So it's a real difficult position that they're in. And it's of their own making, unfortunately. Yeah,
you say that by hook or by crook they'll get to 6th, but if you had to pick a team that'll push them all the way and maybe try and disrupt that top 6, who would it be? Like I mean, you look at Leicester and West Ham, who have at least a muscle memory of going the distance and pushing the top 4 over the past couple of seasons, and then Newcastle have all the money, and Brighton show that they're going to be a quality team this season as well. So is there anybody in that collection of teams that you think could push the top 6?
No.
Okay.
No, there isn't. Look. I mean, what's happening at Leicester? Everybody's trying to get out, jump ship. I don't think up to now they haven't bought anybody, have they? So which is a really strange one. Have they? You know, they've got a brand new training ground which they've spent absolute fortunes on. Is the owner looking at that and thinking we need to recap some of the money? Well, it looks like it at the moment because you know all their better players. There's offers for them to take them by all the different clubs. So that's a real worry. And who else did we say? I mean, Newcastle probably. If they finish top 10, looking up to about 8th, that would be a good season for them. But they've been cute as well, by the way, in their signings. They've not gone out and spent absolute fortunes. They've been quite clever, and it's a really softly catchy monkey approach, and it's working, I think, for them. I just don't see anybody else. I think that'd be one of the stories of the season, which is like 6 to 12 will be interchangeable throughout the 8-9 months of the football season.
Yeah, I think that's probably spot on when we look at how the next little while will pan out. Just wanted to ask you about Liverpool as well, Mark. Last weekend, obviously, the big talking point probably was Darwin Núñez's debut, but really it's Thiago's injury, isn't it? That is the big talking point from Liverpool's perspective. So was there a little bit of an alarm bell going off anyway with regards to the reinforcements that they haven't, I guess, acquired in midfield and how well stocked they are in that department?
Yeah, well, I think if you look at the 3 departments of the team, so defensively, including the goalkeeper, obviously, and then and the front players, the front 3, who we think they will be regularly, they're outstanding. But the midfield at the moment has a little bit of look of average about it without Thiago, because Thiago's such an outstanding player and he sees passes that other mortals don't see, but he's prone to injuries and. That's not going to go away as he gets a little bit older, and you look at them. And I know a couple of young lads, Harvey Elliott and stuff. I think they've given him a brand new contract, haven't they? Yesterday, I think, and they think he's got a real chance. But you wouldn't want to play him every single week. So there's a little bit of a look in midfield like the ordinary. Keita, has he ever really done it? Probably not. So. I mean, Henderson's a good player, and you know what you're going to get from him week in, week out. But there's no kind of X factor in that midfield at the moment. Whether they decide to go out and buy somebody remains to be seen. They've done this before when all of a sudden they've produced a rabbit out of the hat with Alisson and Van Dijk and things like that. But it's an interesting one because, as I say, there's no X factor in there. Keita's been there. This is his 4th or 5th season. I don't think we've ever seen him really play like outstanding games on a regular and consistent basis. So it's a small problem. It's not a massive problem. But if you're seriously going to challenge Manchester City, you might have to address it before the end of the transfer window.
Yeah, it does feel like we're constantly talking about the midfield area, that's where they need to strengthen. But Mark, what would you do like at the moment if there's no maybe X-factor player out there at the minute to sign? Is it better to wait till you see that player you really want, spend the money on him? Or is it a problem right now, we need to fix it now?
Well, I think there's quite a few injuries in there, which I think Klopp alluded to. So that sounds to me like they're going to stick with it. As I said, they've got big hopes about Harvey Elliott. He's sort of recovered from his injury, etc. They've been very, very clever, Liverpool, since Klopp's been there. in the transfer market. Sometimes, look at Jota. Who knew Jota was going to sign for the football club? All of a sudden, he'd arrived at Liverpool, and there's an announcement that they signed him. Nobody even knew, which is unbelievable nowadays with the media, etc. So, I would imagine that they're looking round. They'll have a list of players as well who they think they like to take, whether they can take them in terms of the money, all those kind of things. just have to wait and see. I mean, it's like anything. If I think they play Palace on Monday, don't they? And if they slipped up against Palace, I think the phone call to America would be very, very urgent.
Yeah, it was a pretty poor performance for their first game out against Fulham. They were nearly lucky to get a draw, I would have thought.
Yeah, they were sluggish, weren't they? They were sluggish. They had a spell when it got to 1-1 where you kind of thought, go on and win the game. But obviously Mitrovic managed to get the penalty, certainly for Fulham. I don't take anything away from Fulham. I thought they were very good and very, very competitive as well. It's the most competitive Fulham team I've seen for years and years, because they normally roll over and lie down in front of you. But yeah, they just weren't at it. So obviously Monday's game is a big game, and already people are saying, City've won, they look brilliant, Haaland, they're going to absolutely walk the league, and etc. But look, 37 more games to go, long season, injuries, all those, loss of form, all those kind of things. The front two will be Manchester City and Liverpool. Whether Liverpool can hold on to City's coattails remains to be seen.
Yeah, and we mentioned Darwin Núñez coming off the bench in each of the games. He's done really well. Do you think that maybe Mo Salah's game might change a little bit with Núñez up front with him? No,
I think he'll just be the same. I think certainly in the last 18 months, I would say Mo Salah's game has become more well-rounded. There was always a part of me thinking that, he just wanted to score every week. Sometimes, but not passing or getting his head up to play somebody else in. But I think that's changed a little bit. He's obviously got his new contract. He's happy. And I think, and he scored his goal last week. That they all want to score. I mean, if strikers don't score, they don't think they play, do they? But Núñez is going to be a top player. I think everybody can see that. And what we might have is between those two, certainly at least, going for like top goal scorer, which is very, very healthy. Obviously, I mean the top players. Liverpool is still a top side. It may be not quite be as good as Manchester City at the moment.
And Mark, for you, it's the first time, I think you spent 20 years at the BBC. It's the first time now you're watching on without being a pundit and predicting. How has that been?
Well, it's all right. 25 years apparently.
Oh.
I didn't really. Yeah, I know. I can't remember yesterday, so don't worry about it. But yeah, it's good. I don't need to see it. I've just done this thing with Paddy Power, which is a massive skit on what I did at the BBC in terms of the predictions. So have a look at it. So I quite enjoyed it as well. But no, listen, I'm still working. I work at Liverpool doing most of the games, etc. So I get to see loads of games. So it's all good, and spend more time in Mallorca as the winter approaches.
Very nice.
No
Mark Lawrenson, no classified results. Saturdays just ain't the same anymore.
Listen, what a decision that is. And I know, like, I'm one of the old farts and everything, but it's 5 minutes. And, the BBC's explanation that, it's a game at 5:30, and the fact that nobody from the football department actually said, this is why we're doing it. They were hiding behind this other excuse is just amazing. And there's been obviously a massive outcry over here, and people saying, well, you can get it on here, you can get it on there. But, when you go to games, I mean, if I don't see Liverpool, I go and watch Preston, and sometimes I might leave a little bit early because it might be a bit boring, to be honest with you. But what you do is you jump in the car, 10 to 5, the games are still going on, and you're listening to the commentary, but you're getting all the scores coming in and the results. It's life, it's football, it's what we do.
Yeah. Like, can you explain? Like, it's obvious. Like what you just said there is why there's been such an outcry, but the level of the outcry this week was actually quite notable. I thought this was something that might be phased out and then nobody would say much about it. But I'm really surprised by the backlash this week. Can you try and put into words about why we've seen that level of backlash?
Well, because I just think people look at it and listen. We live in an age where woke is very much every day, everything about it, and you can't say stuff and all that kind of. It's just one of those strange things that I just feel somebody in the ivory tower at the BBC has decided, well, we don't need to do that. Now, it can't be a financial thing because it's just one person reading the results for 8 minutes. So and as I said before, the fact that nobody from the football department actually said, well, this is the reason why. So they're obviously, I would think, would completely disagree with the decision. But in the end, they've had not nothing to say about it, but no say in terms of the big bosses at the BBC, which is just a very, very strange thing. But then if you look across, lots of people at the BBC are approaching older age, shall we say, they're starting to lose their jobs. So make out of that what you wish.
Forgive me for forgetting that. James Alexander-Gordon, was that the reader of the
No, Charlotte Green was the last one. James Alexander-Gordon was on for years. Years. Oh man, what a voice as well, unbelievable. But Charlotte Green was the last one, which we think about it. I think she might have done 10 years now, but that was like, whoa, a woman reading the football results, whatever next, which is nuts, isn't it? Because she had a great voice and she was really, really good at it. So, I don't know. As you get older, you kind of look at stuff and you think, oh my God, is that really what's happening to the world?
Yeah. It's certainly been a big story this week. Mark, listen, it's been great chatting to you once again this morning. Thanks a million for taking the call.
No problem. Thank you. See you later. See you, Aisling. Bye.
Bye, Mark.
Bye-bye.
Mark Lawrenson there on the line, looking ahead to the weekend's Premier League. And on that theme, just to tell you that Off the Ball is coming back to Vicar Street in association with Cadbury FC, and we've got a massive roadshow coming your way in just 5 days' time. It's Wednesday, August 17th. We've got Michael Owen, Ian Wright, Emma Byrne and Karen Carney amongst our guests. There should be some great stories in the night as four legends of the game reminisce about their careers and preview this season and look ahead to the games that are coming up. So this is an exclusive off-air event and tickets are limited, so don't delay. You can go to otbsports.com/events. And a reminder that ticket proceeds will go towards supporting Irish women's grassroots football. Terms and conditions apply. See you on the night.